Hi there, beautiful soul. Grada Robertson here from the Purple House Wellness Center. And tonight I invite you to spend the next 20 minutes with me when I'm going to go over the importance of connecting with your emotions. For those of you who don't know me, I am a healer. I've been a healer for well over 20 years now, actively working with clients. I absolutely love everything to do with health, health and well-being, even wealth, and what makes people tick, what makes some people heal, and what makes others never move forward. Some people don't recover and other people do, and so on. There's so many questions, so many mysteries that I'm always researching. So tonight I want to spend a little bit of time with you because I noticed the Center of Disease Control in America, so it's called the CDC, actually state on their website that 85% of diseases have an emotional component. I think they even went so far to say that it has an emotional root cause, and unless you heal that, find the root cause, the disease may come back, right? So that's basically what it means. So I want to talk about this a little bit because then I was researching Renee Brown, and Renee Brown, she's a very famous author and speaker she spent a whole decade studying the topic of shame and vulnerability and how important shame is in the community and to build connections when she explains how to deal with it. So in her latest book, I listened to an interview with Renee, and she said that there was a study done with 9,000 people, so quite a large study, and the study was around whether people can easily identify the emotion that they're feeling or not. And shockingly, most people can only really connect with 3 emotions or feelings. I think that was the feeling of anger, fear, and something like pleasure. So it's like most people in society today only have 3 buckets to experience life through. So let's say you're having a different experience, like you might be experiencing feeling motivated or ecstatic. Well, that would have to go into the bucket of pleasure, so that is watering it down. But you could have another negative emotion, like you might be feeling bored or annoyed, that might have to go into the bucket of anger. So you can see how this is a limiting, very limiting to your experience of life in this lifetime, right? And you only have one lifetime as you, so I'm all about you maximizing your health, your well-being, and also your happiness and joy levels. And I absolutely feel passionate about unblocking the emotional aspect behind every disease. It's also behind stresses in the relationships, kinks in the cable, stresses in your money, and I have found now with absolutely thousands of my clients that when I help them to heal their bodies, we do that together, their money also improves, and their relationships, if they're stuck in a bad relationship, those relationships end, and they're able to create beautiful, new, nurturing, lasting relationships. So let's just put in a nutshell and unpack a little bit what happens, why our emotions, why is it so important that you are natural with your emotions or feelings. So like, first of all, let's look at a little child. You know, like, I love children. I have a big family myself. I raised 6 children and we have lots of grandchildren. I just love observing kids all the time and babies. And they're very natural with their feelings. So like, one minute they could be crying, the next minute they're ecstatic, next second they fall asleep, and they are just so fluent and fluid in a sense. It just flows through them, right? So they're not saying like, wow, a second later a second ago you were crying and upset and now you want to be my friend again. No, they just go with the flow, right? But at a certain point in life, our emotions become more and more stuck, especially after we turn 7. It's pretty much backwards, you know, downhill from that moment on. But it doesn't have to be like that. So in my work and when I do programs sometimes, I teach people emotional intelligence, right? So there's something called emotional IQ, and when your emotional IQ goes up, and you have to sometimes be taught how to do that and show tricks and how that feels in your body, your whole life opens up. Because as a result of us not knowing what we're feeling, we're sanitizing our emotions, or we're blocking them out, or we brush over them, or we put them on hold, or we even turn them into a sickness. We pathologize them, let's say sadness for instance. You lose a loved one and society only wants you to be sad or upset for a certain amount of time, maybe 6 months, a year. People think that's a long time. And if you're still grieving after that, people think there's something wrong with you. That's called, it's turned into pathology, right? But nothing could be further from the truth, because our body is made to just be like the emotions, for emotions to come through us and flow through us all the time. But we are not the emotion itself. Sometimes it feels as if we're the emotion, but we are beings that are like receiving stations that emotions come through us. You could say we're the blue sky and clouds pass all the time. You don't expect when you look at the sky to see the same cloud in the sky every morning at 10 o'clock, do you? But often if we suppress our emotions, let's say you feel a bit moody at 10 o'clock, or sad or depressed, and you do this every morning, then it becomes a mood, and then it becomes a state, and then it starts to rule your life. That's how we get stuckness. Now, inside our cells of our body, what happens is if we have a strong emotion, let's say you get a big shock in the car or something, but you don't want to show it because you don't want to show your vulnerability, you suppress that emotion, and this releases a chemical in your bloodstream that will go towards cells in your body, like a bunch of cells, and it will block the communication between those cells and the next one, and now you've got an energy block, and it will always go towards an inherent weakness that you have in your body. So for instance, some people will always get migraines, some people get scoliosis in their spine, or a lot of energy blocks are deeply hidden. You would never guess that you actually had any unless you go to a healer. So this is something that Pete and I do at work, so we can find your energy blocks very, very quickly, like within seconds of testing. We know where your main energy blocks are, and then we can also release that energy and allow healing energy to flow through your body, so your body heals itself, because everybody's body we're born healing machines. Again, that's why children are so resilient, and they can recover really, really quickly. Apparently children can even still regrow, like the top of the finger, for instance, if you lose it, and so on. So our bodies have all these amazing abilities to heal quickly, to attract perfect health, to attract great happiness and good luck, and money and wealth and all that. And we are blocking it by either suppressing our emotions, by disconnecting from it, and by misunderstanding our emotions and feelings, right? And body sensations, by the way. So it's not always an emotion, it can be a sensation as well, that or a tension, a ball of tension in your body. And we ignore it and we ignore it, and after a while it simply goes numb, and we have lost connection or communication, you could say, to that part of the body, and then it's very easy for the body to create disease. It's like, imagine if somebody says, hang on to this pen or something, like object, and really hold your fist really, really tight. And they force you to do this, say, for 2 or 3 hours. Your hand would be going numb after 20 minutes, probably earlier, sooner. And then like after 2 or 3 hours, it would definitely be numb. That's the body's own protection mechanism. But this is literally what happens emotionally as we get older and more trauma and stress gets piled up on top, and we don't deal with the previous layers. We literally become disconnected. So everything in our circumstances is a reflection of our emotional IQ or well-being as well, because emotion turns into energy, and everything happens in our energetic field first before it becomes materialized. So I know you have heard me talk about this many times, but I just want to tell you again that in 2006, out of the blue, like I was seemingly very happy, from what I can remember, so consciously I was very happy, I was fit, I was feeling great, I was in a great place in my life. I was 43, my youngest child was 12, my eldest was 25, and everyone was doing well, the business was doing well, I was successful, and suddenly a truck comes along. I had a freak accident. It was completely freaky, but of course there's no such thing as freaks or randomness in our universe. And a truck came along. I was a pedestrian, and the potato tray hit me fair square in the back and completely banged my body up. So I had closed brain injury, my spine was broken in many places, my pelvis was exploded, I had internal injuries, and really I should have died on the spot, but I'm still here. However, the point I'm making is, right, all the trauma must have been in my body already. I was basically a ticking time bomb, and what it took was a truck to come along and help me express it. That's how I see it, right? And yet, here I was, 43, feeling on top of my game. I had success at work. I thought I was happily married, everything was good in my life, right? And I was actually, as far as I could tell, doing all the right things. I thought I was feeling my emotions. I am an open, sharing kind of person, so I'm not really somebody that holds things in. I'm more extroverted and so on. And yet, here I manifested this huge, enormous trauma, like to the point that I was literally like a breath away from death for about 7 days from internal bleeding, and nobody really could touch me, because if they touched me, that could trigger more bleeding, and I would be gone. So then I needed major surgery to reconstruct my body and all the rest. So I just want you to know that even a person like me, I'm guilty of not feeling, not connecting with the true beingness in the bottom of my head, what was going on behind the scene, maybe in the back of my head. There were things there that needed healing, and I wasn't conscious of it. In fact, I was completely oblivious of it. Right? And so this is how most people arrive at a cancer diagnosis or any kind of major life-threatening diagnosis or accident, or even things like bankruptcy or financial disaster or any kind of heartbreak. It all happens in the inner core being first. The blueprint, everything happens according to a blueprint. It's written in the blueprint. And how does it get there? It gets there because of trauma that's not healed and so on. So I ended up writing a book about it. It's called Yoda Miracle, How Being Hit by a Truck Saved My Life. And I published the book in 2018. Lots of people have read it and they can really relate to it as well. And it helps many people to actually make a full comeback from their truck accident. Like a truck accident can be a cancer diagnosis or any kind of catastrophe. And So I have literally dedicated the rest of my life since 2006 working through what was potentially hiding in my cell memory, and I'm still doing that today. So I don't take any shortcuts because I never want to get hit by a truck again, right? And so really I feel that every human being needs to make it an absolute priority to feel what's going on for you right now, from moment to moment. And this is kind of an art and a science that we've lost. We were born with a natural ability, and now we have to remember how to do that. So what I find really helpful is, like, I spend a lot of time by myself. Like, I seek out stillness. I even like being awake at night when it's very still, and then in the stillness I get lots of answers and insights. It's a bit like sitting next to a lake or a dam or like a body of water, and if it's really still, you see perfect reflection, so you get a really good image of the reality around it. And that's the same with our bodies. If we have stillness, so like we're all by ourselves, so that also means solitude, you can sometimes get so much insight. So I really cherish that time every day. I dedicate time to that. I like journaling, meditating, and of course when I work with my clients, I see every client as a mirror of something that's relevant for me as well. So like I have healing sessions. I like to be out in nature. I like to be with animals. I like to research. Actually, all my spare time that I don't do any of these things, I'm researching. So I'm finding out what other people have done and what have helped them and so on. And so it's all like, it's a passion and a joy. So today, this story is really all about you recognizing a little bit more than the 3 buckets that most people understand. Oh, I'm feeling angry now, or they realize I'm scared, right? So that's also obvious sometimes. Or they feel the sensation of pleasure, but beyond that, most people are kind of living like, I call it barbarians, right? Because society has done this to us. So I'm going to suggest that you learn to tune into your body, and shifts can happen really quickly. So like even today for me, sometimes I still don't catch what's going on inside my body, because our brain is so amazing that it will release, say, the hormone of sadness for like 90 seconds. That's what happens in children. Now your body has released the sadness, and now it wants to move on to another state of being, another state. But what happens, our brain starts to replay an old story. So our sadness gets triggered and triggered, like 90 seconds, another 90 seconds, another. This can last days, if not weeks sometimes. So I'm just going to give you some hints here. So how do you know if you have sadness in your body, right? And where would you feel that in your body? I'm just going to give you a clue, because most people cover their sadness up with anger. Well, some things that portray sadness are that you have it's a collapsed energy. So sadness is like you feel collapsed over your heart. So like some people have a collapsed posture, and so that means they've had a lot of sadness in their cells that they haven't looked at or felt or anything like that. Sadness is felt in the chest area, right? The lungs. So things like pneumonia or colds are caused by sadness, heart tissues, breast tissues, all that. So it's this section. And one way to deal with your sadness is journaling. So like you might, this is the thing, you could have bucket loads of sadness in your body, but you're not feeling like crying. You may not even be feeling sad at all. You may just be feeling happy even, right? So a good thing is journaling is great. So you just start writing, and after a while, probably like that much writing, suddenly you start to get to some deeper meaning. and you'll feel your heart, it feels as if your heart space opens, like you get space to breathe again, it feels more flexible. So that is sadness, right? And another, you can massage these points, that also helps to relieve sadness. If you know you have sadness in your body, but you literally feel stuck in it, you can also watch tear jerkers, right? And lock yourself away and really give yourself over into that movie and allow your body to cry. So another one is anger. So lots of people have huge anger issues, but they're completely oblivious of it, right? So that will show up as a road rage, and then they can blame the other person, but that anger, of course, was already inside their body. So anger is another one that many people don't connect with, and that will show up as TMJ, like neck issues, shoulder tension, arms, hand issues, because like you want to make a fist to punch somebody, or actually pretty much the back of your head, TMJ, jawline, teeth grinding, all this section. And so the shoulders, like I already said, the big back muscles, and like you can have a million massages in your life, but actually that anger needs to come out. So another one really good way to release the anger is just to talk to it. Like pretend anger is sitting across in a chair from you, and just start talking to it, have a conversation with it, and then you might get angry and angry, that's the whole point, of course. And then feel free to scream as well, because anger has to be released through the vocal cords, because what happened was there were times in your life that you wanted to scream and you couldn't, most likely when you were a little child. So that's anger. And then the other side of anger, the other side of the coin, is fear. A lot of people are disconnected from their fear, and that will often sit in your belly, like in the depths of your belly, in your pelvic area. So deep breathing is good for fear, like allowing the breath to go all the way into your belly and take care of it. And then shivering or shaking, that's a way to release fear from your body as well. So like with sadness, sobbing is a way for your body to release it, and with anger, screaming out loud is a good way to release that. And then of course we get some sneaky emotions like shame. Like I said, Renee Brown studied for a whole 10 years the topic of shame. Shame is very complex, and if you are conscious of shame in your body, you definitely need healing sessions, because shame is the lowest frequency and it always pulls you down. Even if you think, well, I'm not thinking about it, that frequency is still active in your body, and it's a frequency that's very close to death. So shame can be healed during healing sessions very easily, and otherwise you can treat shame very similar to sadness. So lots of writing, journaling, appreciation, like stand in the mirror, tell yourself how beautiful you are and how lovable you are, and it's going to feel really alien first, but as you continue to do it, it's going to chip away at your shame. But I would definitely recommend deep, very deep healing and support on that journey. And then of course guilt is another really big one that often sits in the lungs, right? Guilt often sits in your lungs, or it can even sit in your kidneys on a physical level. So again, guilt can give you pneumonia or kidney stones, and guilt needs to be dealt with. So if you're aware that you have guilt in your body about something, again, you can write it down exactly what it is, write that story down, and if there's something that you have to, restore, like if you've harmed somebody, you can fix it, and then you learn the lesson from it. With guilt, you simply have to learn the lesson and let it go, and make sure that you have, if you created harm, that you compensate that person, and then move on as fast as you can, because guilt is like shame. It has absolutely no healthy place in your emotional body. It drags you down. And when I think about attracting a truck into my life, I think guilt had a lot to do with it. I had a lot of guilt and shame in my body because that was like the standard Dutch upbringing, includes a lot of input of guilt and shame, right? And many other things that I wrote about in my book. So I hope that you found this interesting. I definitely love talking about this. This is like deep healing. If you get the root cause, which is always emotional, and you find it and heal it properly, and you learn how to deal with your body better, like you get more in touch with your emotions, and you learn how to flow with it more like a little child, you're going to heal very, very quickly, and you're not going to attract the same disease back. So like every disease, when people go into remission, they're constantly fearful that it might come back, right? And this is where we need to heal the emotion that's being repressed in the cells. So I was just explaining that a little bit. This is the bulk of my work. I would say it's probably 99% of the work I do with clients. And I have some really, really good techniques that I use. Peter does the same, that we can shift this and transmute the energy of it very quickly. And it's like, okay, now your book, it's like the screen is wiped clean, or you suddenly have a fresh page to start. You can start your life again. And it's very, very empowering. So I hope that you found this interesting. Invest in yourself. That's what I want you to know. Just take some time out every day where you really touch base with yourself. Like, stop rushing around. I know that everyone is busy and there's lots of responsibilities, but every day needs to include me time. You know, time where you really, really get to the bottom of your heart. Check what's going on there. Remember to be a little child. Just laugh and cry, stomp your feet, shake, dance. Get that energy moving, and if you feel some stuckness, come and see me and I'll be able to help you. Thanks everyone. I really appreciate that you tune in and listen, and hope you get something out of it. Have a really good week, and I look forward to being with you again next Monday. Big love everyone. Bye.